Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. It's close enough to about time. So I think we were supposed to start at 11:10. I said in my first session, here's my clock. It's permanently 2. It's not working. There's no battery. So, and also, so welcome to the kindergarten language arts kindergarten readiness. I'm going to be straightforward and honest right now. I am not Christine Elegante. I am a K-3 literacy specialist. So Christine and I work together. My name is Julie Clark. She got called up to the Capitol today to fight they were going to the Senate committee for the full day kindergarten bill. So she, at the last minute, was not able to come and present today. So I'm doing her presentation for her. It's a good thing we work really closely together and we have pretty much the same mind. If it's just like me cloned in another body. We do a lot of the things very similar. So I am kind of filling in for her for this presentation. And it's always interesting when it's like, yay, okay, I'm great. I can do this. I got your notes. But then on Google, you can't see your presenter notes when you present. So it's okay though. We'll be good. This is a picture of Christine. So there she is. That's Christine's family. But I am, like I said, my name is Julie Clark. I am a K-3 literacy specialist too. I don't have 2 children. I have 4. I have 2 girls and 2 boys. So just double Christines up here. And my oldest is 22. She's currently right now in the middle of her interview that started at 10:30 to get into her master's program at Idaho State University in psychology. She wants to be a neuropsychologist. So she wants to, I know neuro means brain and psychology means like fix people, right? Like that's my definition. I don't know. So she's up there interviewing to get into that program today. I have a sophomore a junior at Fremont High, another daughter. She's my dance, cheerleading, like all things girly girl. Then I have 2 boys, Peyton and Jace. One's a sophomore and one's an 8th grader, and they're both like super into soccer and like die hard. We travel all over for that too. So they keep me busy and on my toes. But I'm glad to be able to be here with you today, and go through this. And my kids look nothing like Christine's. Clearly, she's a blonde. I have my oldest looks just like me. Then my daughter is a blonde, and then I have a brown-headed child, and then a red-headed child. So we have it all. We have all spectrums. So it's kind of we have an interesting house, and we keep busy. But that's me in a nutshell. Before I was at the board, I was in Weber School District. I taught kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade for several years. Then I was an instructional coach, and then I left and came to USBE. So that's kind of my journey. And so her learning intentions that she set for today is to learn about the language arts skills preschool children need in order to be prepared for kindergarten. And she set this up to kind of go through those language art. She looked at the preschool standards for language arts, and we're going to kind of look at each piece of that and give some activities to go along with those pieces to do. Our success criteria is to be able to, hopefully you'll be able to use the knowledge gained to enhance preschool instruction to better prepare students for kindergarten. So we know we're working with those littles that are just moving into our kindergarten space, and we want them to be as prepared as we can. You guys are lucky enough to deal with kids that get to come to you, and we know that we're missing a lot of kids in our state that don't get preschool. So thank you for all you do to reaching those kids that do come to you. So the first section of the standards are the speaking and listening. And these are the 3 preschool standards that Christine kind of pulled out to focus on. We're listen attentively and respond to stories and books, speak in complete sentences, speak clearly enough to be understood by others, and then be able to ask and answer questions. So some activities that kind of go along with doing those is, like her first one is have a question of the day. So if you pose a question to the students like, what is your favorite food? Or what do you like to eat? And instead of just letting the kids say bananas, or like anybody's gonna say bananas, but like Skittles or, pizza, have them work with them on responding in a complete sentence. So instead of just saying the word, you want them to become more verbal. So talk about how they can, when asked the question, what do you like to eat? Respond by incorporating part of that question back in your answer, where I like to eat pizza, or I like to eat cookies. And then, you can also connect it to having them draw a picture of it, and maybe have them draw a picture first and then describe what their picture is of, and use it in a complete sentence and get them talking about that. Another activity that you can do is have students describe how something, what they see, hear, smell, taste, or feel. Bring in different objects that have lots of texture to them and get them to talk about it, and use those descriptive words like it's soft, it's smooth, it's, squishy, or, rough, bumpy, have them use those descripting words to describe what those objects are, just to help broaden their vocabulary and deepen their understanding of those words and how they can describe things. Work on following two-step directions. So this is like a tricky one, right? You get the kid who it's like, okay, go hang up your coat and then come to the carpet. That's your two-step direction. What's step number 1? Hang up your coat. Step number 2, come to the carpet. And then you get the kid that goes over and hangs up the coat and then is gone, totally lost. What do they do after they hang up their coat? Because they're only hearing that first step. So really work on, the key to working on these following two-step directions is immediate feedback. So the kid that does it goes and hangs up the coat and comes to the carpet. Great job. I like how you did that. You went and hung up your coat and then you came and sat on the carpet. And who else is listening? All the other kids. And they're like, oh, wait, what am I supposed to be doing? And so they hear that feedback. Or if somebody gets lost on the way, reinforce. What did I ask you to do? You hang up your coat. Okay, what was after you hung up your coat? And then talk to them about, the next part was to go to the carpet and sit down on the carpet. So, really work on those, following those directions. And then as you're reading stories, doing read alouds, this is a great opportunity to get those students into asking and answering questions. So a lot of the times when we do read alouds, you want to prep ahead of time and go through and pick out different places in your story where you can stop and answer questions, and so that the students can respond and make sure they're gaining understanding of the story. But also think of places along the way where they can ask questions, where you can stop and see if they have questions about the story so they can start generating questions in their mind. Because if we go back to this slide, it's not just answer questions. We want them to be able to ask questions as well. So, think of places in your story where you could stop and be like, does anybody have a question? And then talk to them about what a question is and, see so that they can ask questions as well. So those are some activities that you can do to go along with the speaking and listening. And then I feel like I'm going through this really fast, probably because she probably had a lot more to say, but in our brief interaction, I think I got the gist of what she wanted to get across. So the reading standards are understands concepts of print, mastery of age-appropriate phonological awareness skills, and mastery of age-appropriate phonics skills. And so if you were in the last session with me, this is going to be a little bit repetitive in this section. We have a little bit that we're going to repeat, but going with that concepts of print. This is where we want to make sure that students know how to correctly hold a book, that we start at the top and we work to the bottom, we start at the left, we go to the right. So we want to be able, to reinforce those with them. A lot of the times it's super fun when you hold the book the wrong way and you're like, okay, let's start reading. And they're like, no, So make sure they're aware of, the correct way to hold the book, where we start on the page and you're really working with them with that, with those concepts of print. And then phonological awareness skills. So we have a lot of phonological awareness skills that we look at, and they kind of build upon each other. She kind of has them out of order though. So we have alliteration and rhyming words, and then counting syllables, and then onset rhyme, initial sounds, and then blending and segmenting words into individual phonemes. So these are all different phonological awareness skills that you want to be able to work with your students on. So we're just going to kind of touch on what each of these are and some activities that you can do with each of them. So beginning with alliteration. Wow, that font's really fun. I'm like, what does that say over there? Is that supposed to say initial sounds? I have no idea what that is. Okay, well, anyway, the first one is alliteration. And alliteration is where we have that repetitive first sound at the beginning of each word, so that they're hearing that sound over and over again. So you can see, using sentences, silly sentences like Susie sells seashells down by the seashore, or Peter Piper picked a pepper. There are lots of books out there. I know one of my favorite that I used when I taught alliteration was Dinerella. And if you haven't heard of the story Dinerella, it's super cute. It's like probably really old. And it's about this it's like basically the dinosaur version of Cinderella. But like, it is chock full of words that start with the letter D. So if you're working on the letter D and you want to talk about alliteration at the same time so that they're really hearing that repetitive, that's a great book for it. And it's got a lot of vocabulary that you can really expand on. Like, your kids might not know what a diner is, but she goes to a diner, and you can talk to them about, well, a diner is like a restaurant, and so it's a really good book. I like that one. So reading stories that have that, talking about silly sentences, using those so that they can pull off that first sound and they hear that repetitive first sound. The next one is onset rhyme. And this is the division between what is before the vowel and what follows the vowel. So we want to pull off that first part that's before the vowel sound and then everything else. So if we have fit, in our last one we talked about how you can finger tap and you can go it, fit. So you're pulling off that first sound. You can do it with hand motions, it, fit. Or if you say fit, it, fit. So going back and forth either way. And then I'm thinking that says initial sounds, but I have no idea what that says right there. But I think it's initial sounds. So yes, because what's the first sound in dog? So identify the first sound that you hear in words is where you are working on that initial sound. So say cat, what's the first sound in cat? Unless the kids could reply. Something that you want, that is really weird that it looks like that. I know. Okay, so I'm just going to say, like, right? Super weird. Okay. I don't know why it looks like that in present mode, but it is looking like that. So that's really strange. But in the last presentation, I kind of talked about with younger kids, you want to start with bigger chunks and move to smaller chunks. So you'll want to start of words. So you'll want to start by pulling apart and manipulating like compound words. So football, so that you can break apart those so that they can see that there's a distinct division. And then you'll want to work with syllables before you get to the isolated phonemes. So think big, and then move smaller, because the smaller you get, the harder it is to pull apart sounds. So you can also working with rhyming, filling in the blank for twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, what are the things that rhyme, really relying, I think, a lot of the times we've, I've seen in kindergarten classrooms where it's like they've gone away from these nursery rhymes, and it's like, no, those are really good for rhyming activities and things like that, for the students to be able to hear those rhyming sounds and be able to identify rhymes. Counting syllables, you can clap or count syllables using, use a lot of pictures for these. Because when we're dealing with phonemic awareness, we are dealing with sounds. We're not connecting it to the written language yet. So pictures really come in handy during phonemic awareness. So you can hold a picture of a tiger, and you can talk about, the syllables in tiger. We have tiger, tiger. I've even seen in classrooms where teachers have taken pictures and cut them apart, and they slide them up and they say apple, apple, so they're kind of putting it together to make the whole, but they're sliding up the syllable parts. The next one, wow. I can't even remember what that says. We're going to this view. Sorry. That is really bad. I don't know why it's like that. So blend and segment words into individual phonemes. So we talked about these a little bit in our last session, where we can do phoneme counting by using our finger tapping that I just did. So, I talked to them about, really strengthening and getting the kids the ability to touch their fingers first is key, because if they can't do this, then finger tapping is not going to work. And really kind of strengthening their muscles and getting that coordination. One activity that I showed them will also help with writing and pencil grip, is to have them hold something in their hand with these 3 fingers, and then have to pick something up with those 2 fingers, so that they're only using those 2 fingers to really kind of strengthen their fingers and be able to do activities and help with their writing. But so finger tapping, if I said the word is it, I want to say the sounds in it. We have it, it. And we munch it and get the whole word at the end. And then we have cat, so say the sounds in cat, and we have k, a, t, cat. Now you can do this, like I said, with our bigger chunks. So if you're doing compound words, you can do sunshine, sunshine, football, football, and then get to your syllables where you have tiger, and you go tiger, tiger. Or I'm trying to think of a 3-syllable word. I can't think of one right now, but. Oh yeah, there you go. Banana, banana. There you go. Yeah. So you can do it with compound words. You can do it with syllables. You can do it down to the individual phonemes. And then phoneme blending. You can say, I'm going to sound like a robot. I'm going to tell you the sounds. You tell me what the word is. So if I go, the sounds are p. Oh, that was really bad. Don't ever do it like that. Don't put the on. P, oh wait, what am I doing? Pig. So p, I, g. What's my word? Pig. A, p. What's my word? Map. So that they're hearing the sounds and they blend them together. And then we kind of did phoneme segmentation up there with counting. You can count the syllables, and then the same thing you can do with phoneme segmentation. And then if your students get really good, you can start doing say Sam, and they would say Sam. Now what's the first sound in Sam? S. Now change it to P. What's my word? Pam. That's really hard though. Yes.
So
yeah.
Motorcycles?
Yep.
So Haggerty is really fast, and they have hand motions for all these things.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just can't sell Haggerty.
Oh,
I can't stand up here and say that. But yeah, they are. They.
This could take me all day. But
Right.
This program is it's 5
Yes.
minutes, we're done, and we
Yep.
do
Yes. And your phonemic awareness instruction should be 5 to 10 minutes a day, tops, and quick and fast. Yes. And a lot of these activities are similar to what has been in Haggerty. I don't know if I can advance my slides with this in here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now we're going to talk about phonics skills. This is where we are going to connect the sound to the letters, to the written. So we're taking this, the oral language, and we're connecting it to the written language in our phonics. So some of the standards are: know the letters of the alphabet, know that the letters of the alphabet have specific sounds, identify some consonant names and sounds, and identify some vowel names and short vowels and short sounds. So you're not working a ton with those long vowel sounds with the phonics portion. You can use long vowel sounds with phonemic awareness all day long. You know, it's totally great. But with phonics, you're going to want to focus and make sure they're solid on those short vowel sounds. And some phonics activities, we talked about the alphabet so they need daily practice with phonics activities, and some things that you can do. Alphabet puzzles are great, and have them, putting together the letters of the alphabet in puzzle form. Using shapes to build letters. I wish I had a board that I could write this, but I had an occupational therapist come to the school that I was at and talk to us about all of the letters are made with either a vertical line, a horizontal line, a slanted line, or the letter C. And I was like, wait, what? And then I got to thinking about it, and I was like, okay, so A, yep, slanted line, horizontal line for a capital A. Lowercase a, vertical line, and a C. Okay. Capital B, a straight line down, a vertical line, and two C's. Lowercase b, straight line. So if your kids can master like the straight line, the vertical line, horizontal line, and a C, they can make any letter. And I was like, what about the letter U? And they were like, no, it's just a big one. And then a vertical line. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, so it was kind of, so our occupational therapist had like some lines, some long lines, some short lines, or they were like blocks, and then a C block, and they just would put them out and let the kids manipulate them to make different letters. So that's something you could do. Materials for tracing in trays like sand, whipped cream, sandpaper, we talked about, or clay, or what is that, like moon sand stuff or whatever that like doesn't, yeah, what is it? What do you call it? Cake sand? Kinetic sand. Kinetic sand, is that what moon sand really is? Yeah. Yeah. I just know my kids had it, and I was like, this is the best thing ever. It's way better than Play-Doh, and it's not messy like sand. So, things like that. I used a lot when I was in the classroom, the like little wiki sticks. They're like wax sticks that kind of bend in different shapes to build the letters. And then use like templates for matching wood or plastic letters too. And then we have our alphabet arc where you can do lots of activities. And it's not down here in the notes for this one, but in my other presentation, if you go to the agenda, there's like folders. And the PA and phonics presentation, I have a whole bunch of activities or links to websites that have activities for alphabet arc so you can go to there and see different things that you can do. This is an alphabet arc if you're not familiar with it. It's like the letters here, and you can take and match up plastic letters with them. If you don't want to have the plastic letters, you can just print off the alphabet arc and laminate it and take dry erase markers and have them practice tracing the letters. You can have the kids put them in order. You can then have them find the letter and pull it down. You can have them, if you say a sound, they can write it. This one is using like letter stamps, but instead of like using a stamp pad, they put some clay down there, and they told the students, here's I, J, what's the next letter? And they have to find K, and then they stamp it in the clay. So lots of different activities that you can do. And then also you want to, always practice like correctly writing the letters. and make sure, and we're going to kind of get into it a little bit with the writing piece, but writing them, make sure they can and connect the sound while they're writing as well. So going into writing, the standards are use beginning writing skills such as drawing, scribbling, or writing to express ideas, and then print some manuscript letters of the alphabet, including those of their own name. So kind of going back to the beginning when we talked about with the speaking, ask that question of the day and then have them draw the picture, and then they can describe it. If they know some of the letters, they can also try and write it. Christine and I just went to New Orleans to the Plain Talk Conference a couple of weeks ago, and we sat in a fabulous session about writing and handwriting. And this was a quote that was shared with us, and this quote is actually from Microsoft, and so you're kind of like, wow, the computer people are saying that this is what needs to happen. But it says, when writing or drawing by hand, different parts of the brain are activated in different ways. So the physical movement of writing means that the brain is able to process learning in a much more effective way. It was like, wow, that's pretty powerful. And it's really powerful when it's coming from a technology company where, we're like, here's the phone, play on the phone or play on the device. But really what's happening is it's better if they can write it, if they can use their hands and they can write it. But we're dealing with littles here. And so before we can start writing, some of the things that we really need to work on are actually being able to move to be able to write and having the muscles and the strength to be able to doing those writing activities. So there are a lot of pre-writing motor skills that you can do where you can practice by just having them control the direction of their arms. Start at the top, move to the bottom, start at the left, go to the right, start here, make a counterclockwise or clockwise circle and then go back counterclockwise. Can they do these motions with their arms? Really getting their arms to be able to move in those directions. And then you can write by making large circles or lines in the air. They can do it on the carpet where they can get some texture involved. And then also to practice or draw geometric shapes. Like circles and squares and triangles, and so that they're connecting those pieces together instead of just isolated lines. And then again, you're going to kind of move to imitating scribbles. So you're going to use appropriate lined paper and have students copy and start with, before you give them letters, have them start with, can they do a line, and make sure we're starting at the top. And make sure you want them to first trace, and then move to that mimicking where they're just copying it and then doing it on their own. And, start with the horizontal and vertical lines and the slanted lines, and then work on circles. So, yes?
What is appropriate lined paper?
So,
size? I mean, I know there's thicker lines.
I would use, for your littles, you're going to want some thicker lines, and make sure you have a top line, a middle line, and a bottom line. Because top line, middle line, bottom line. And, the more control they have, the smaller the space you can put. Okay. Does that make sense? So you're going to want to start with a bigger space, but always making sure you have that top, middle, and bottom line. You don't want to just throw them just straight lines you do in college. That's not appropriate for a preschooler or somebody, but you want to make sure they have those three distinct lines so that they can see the visual spacing of each line and how big to make it based off of those lines. Does that make sense? Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. And then, I guess that's it. I don't even know how much time I have. I think we're way early. But if you have any questions, I'm welcome to stay and answer questions, go over any other parts of it. Sorry, I didn't realize that was it. So